Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Love and Communication. And this is a new drama from writer-director James J. Christie. And this film focuses on the story of a young couple with conflicting points of view about how to treat their son's autism, use desperate means to do what they think is best for their child. And this film is very much about the parents, the guardians, those that are there for their children with autism, and the mounting frustration and complications there are in terms of raising somebody with autism. And I do appreciate that this film, by the end, and I'll give a little background, my wife is a BCBA, she's a behavior analyst, she works with kids with autism for a living. And I probably know more about autism than most people with a master's in accounting and work in higher education because of that. And I do appreciate that this film has that core feeling of understanding that by the end of the day, this is who they are. This isn't something that's going to be cured. It's just, how can you help them live their best life? And I think this film does a really fine job over the course of its lean 78-minute runtime in painting these two conflicting perspectives and the great lengths that this wife, played by Brianna Evigan, and this husband, Rob, played by Ryan Kennedy, what they're willing to do. And what it also does to their marriage. And we see that they obviously have very conflicting perspectives, and it's creating this rift. There's tension. One of them deals with it a lot better than the other. And both of them are seeking out connection elsewhere, because you can tell that their marriage has been kind of eaten up by this experience, and they're to the point where they can't even really connect and be open with each other at home because it just becomes conflict. And they seek out this connection elsewhere. And I feel like the film certainly takes one of these characters to task a little bit more than the other, which, to be fair, I think the character that is very obviously taken to task is the one that's committing a much harsher act against their relationship. But both of them are seeking out, whether it's physical or emotional connections elsewhere, and betraying that trust. Now, this film really is not about their child, and I think it's interesting that the film winds up taking us to that point that all of this really isn't about the child. It's about the parents and how this is going to affect them along this path in this journey. I think the film also does an interesting job of adding this parallel story with a single black woman with her, I believe he's teenage son, or at least close to, and her sister is the one that's working with this main couple. And there's that disconnect in between money and place in society, and those added layers of intersectionality in a situation like this. And I think that parallel story is important to give perspective that nothing's perfect, and all of these options, there's never enough funding, there's never enough this or that or support for things like this. And this is also a very timely thing because there's potential that a lot of these programs are going to be adversely affected by, the potential liquidation of Department of Education and all of these different things. This film is very relevant, and it's also very human. And I think that's one of the most impactful things about this story. I think the cast does a really fine job of bringing this story to life. And sure, it kind of delves into some more cliche relationship kinds of story threads. But at the end of the day, this still is able to really channel those challenges that society has constructed around trying to raise somebody with autism, because, our society doesn't invest in it enough. And I think this film really captures that challenge and sees what kind of ripple effect it can have. But those are my thoughts on love and communication. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.